Nobody wants to hear this. But if you're in your mid-40s and you haven't seriously started building wealth yet, you are standing at the edge of a window that is starting to close. And most people don't realize it until it's already shut. That's not meant to scare you. It's meant to wake you up. Because 45 is not the end. But it is the last point where the math still works dramatically in your favor. And if you let it pass without taking action, the path gets significantly harder. Not impossible, but harder in ways that are very difficult to recover from. Here's why this age specifically matters. Compound interest, the engine behind all real wealth building, runs on one fuel above everything else: time. And at 45, if you're planning to retire around 65, you have roughly 20 years left. 20 years of compounding is still powerful. It's still enough to change your life. But it's exactly half of what someone who started at 25 had. Every year you wait from this point doesn't just cost you 1 year of growth. It costs you the compounding that would have grown on top of that growth for the rest of your investing life. Let's make that real. $500 a month invested at 45 with a 7% average return gives you roughly $260,000 by 65. Start that same habit at 50, just 5 years later, and you're looking at around $173,000. 5 years, $87,000 gone. Not because you did anything wrong, just because time ran out. But here's what makes 45 uniquely powerful if you act now. The IRS actually knows this is a critical window. That's why at age 50, just 5 years away, you unlock something called catch-up contributions. You can put an extra $7,500 into your 401k beyond the standard limit and an extra $1,000 into your Roth IRA. The government literally built a mechanism to help people in this exact season of life accelerate. That tool is sitting there waiting, but you have to show up for it. Your 45-year-old self has something your 25-year-old self never had: real income, real clarity, and the ability to move real money. That combination, pointed in the right direction right now, is still enough to build something remarkable. If this is already hitting home, hit that like button and subscribe if you want the full roadmap. We're just getting into the real strategy. Most people who reach their mid-40s without much saved didn't get there by being irresponsible. Life happened. A job loss, a medical bill, a decade of just surviving. The reasons are real, but here's the thing. The reasons don't change the math, and the math is what we have to work with right now. So let's talk about mistakes that will absolutely destroy your chances of building wealth in this window, because avoiding them is just as important as the right moves. First, waiting for the perfect moment to start. There is no perfect moment. The market will never feel safe enough. Your budget will never feel comfortable enough, and your situation will never feel stable enough. People who wait for perfect end up with nothing. The best time to start was 20 years ago. The second best time is today, literally today. Second, paying off the mortgage instead of investing. This feels responsible. It feels safe. And sometimes it is. But if your mortgage rate is under 5% and the market has historically returned 7% or more, every extra dollar going toward the mortgage instead of an index fund is costing you. At 45, you cannot afford to let comfort win over math. Third, being too conservative with your investments. A lot of people hit their 40s and shift into ultra-safe, low-return portfolios because they're scared of losing what they've built. But at 45, with 20 years of runway, you still need growth. A portfolio that's mostly bonds and cash will not outpace inflation, let alone build real wealth. You need equities. You need exposure to growth. You're not 70. Fourth, ignoring tax strategy. At this income level, in this season of life, taxes are one of your biggest wealth destroyers if you let them be. A Roth conversion, a health savings account, maxing tax advantage accounts, these are not complicated moves, but they compound into tens of thousands of dollars of savings over the next 2 decades. This is where talking to a fee-only financial advisor actually pays for itself. Fifth, lifestyle creep. Eating everything you earn. Your income is probably the highest it's ever been. But if your spending rose to match it, none of that extra income is building anything. Wealth is not what you earn, It's what you keep and put to work. If this video is giving you a realistic look at where you stand, please subscribe. We break this down every week without the fluff. Smash that like button if this content is helping you think more clearly about your money. Let's stop talking about what could go wrong and talk about what happens when you get this right. Because the life that's available to someone who takes their financial situation seriously at 45 is genuinely extraordinary. And most people never see it because they assume it's too late. It's not too late, but it does require a different mindset than it would have at 30. At 30, you could be casual about it. Invest a little here, skip a month there, let it ride. At 45, you don't have that luxury. The strategy has to be more intentional. Here's what the next 20 years look like if you commit right now. In the first 2 to 3 years, it feels slow. You're building the foundation. Emergency fund, locked in. High interest debt, gone. Automatic investments running. You're building momentum. And momentum is underrated. By year 5, you start to feel the shift. A market dip no longer terrifies you because you've ridden one out and watched it recover. Your financial identity has changed. By year 10, you're 55. You're in catch-up contribution territory, stacking more into your 401k than most people in their 30s even know is possible. Your portfolio is doing real work. The compounding that felt invisible is now producing returns that exceed what you're contributing. The machine is running. And then there's something nobody talks about enough, the Social Security calculation. Your benefit is based on your 35 highest earning years. If you're currently in your peak earning decade, these years are literally being calculated into your future monthly payment. Protecting your career, maximizing your income, and deferring Social Security even a few years past 62 can add hundreds of dollars a month to your retirement income for the rest of your life. That's not a small thing. Over a 20-year retirement, that difference can easily be $50,000 to $100,000. The window at 45 is real. The urgency is real, but so is the opportunity. 20 years of intentional, focused wealth building in your highest earning decade with access to catch-up contributions and compounding still on your side, that is enough. So do something. Start today. And if this gave you the push you needed, please like this video. It genuinely helps more people find it when they need it most. Subscribe for weekly content that respects your intelligence and your time. Share this with someone who's 45 and still on the fence. This might be exactly what they need to hear.